Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Ancora, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Today is a really special interview with my friend, Heather Crowe. Heather and I have been working together for, well, we couldn't figure it out, but around 5 months now. And I have had profound shifts and healing in my life since working with her. And I'm so excited that you guys get to listen in on this conversation. I want everyone to keep an open mind because what you hear today is, it might not be, but I know a lot of people are into this sort of stuff, but we're definitely going to be talking about some interesting things that you may not have heard about before. Heather is a psychic intuitive coach, we'll call her. And she works with the Akashic Records, and she also uses something called light language, which is essentially the language of the soul. You're going to hear her speak light language, which is absolutely beautiful. And it's a way that she can access different frequencies and beings, people's guides that can really help bring perspective and knowledge and healing to your life. We're going to talk about Heather's experience with her awakening, and we are going to be talking about some of the really interesting shifts and some pretty crazy stories that I share in terms of my own experiences with since working with Heather, and ways that she could potentially help you as well. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Again, keep an open mind. There's going to be some really different stuff in here. We're going to be talking about starseeds, if you haven't heard that term before. I'm going to be talking about some alien stuff. So it might be a little bit out there for you, but I tell you, there is some truth to all of this. It has definitely helped me on my journey with healing and just figuring out my purpose in life. So let's get into it. Without further ado, let's have a chat with Heather. Welcome, Heather, to the Wild Remedies podcast. I am so excited that you could be here today.
Oh, thank you, Krista. I'm excited as well.
So for everyone listening, I've been working with Heather for, gosh, how long has it been now? 5-ish?
Good question. It's been, I don't even know what month we started working together, to be honest with you. I apologize, Krista, that's kind of slipped my mind, but it has been a few months.
Don't apologize. I have time, just like, if anyone asks me, like, even what I did yesterday, I honestly could not tell you. Time just like in my brain doesn't compute very well.
I can relate. Time is irrelevant, right?
That's true. And it's construct. It's not even real.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that I found you. And it was in kind of an interesting way because we met through, a friend of mine recommended you to me. I was having a chat with this friend and she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm working with this amazing counselor, but she's also psychic and she does all of these cool things. And I was so surprised because that particular friend of mine, is not really into the same kind of quote unquote woo-woo stuff that I'm into. And I was like, wow, okay, well, this woman must be special. I have to reach out to her. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, I'm so happy our paths cross for sure. Yeah. I've learned, I can only hope that you've learned as much from me as I have from you, the time that we've had together. It's been quite an interesting and intriguing ride, Krista.
It sure has been. I love it. It's so great. It's an opportunity to grow together, right? Like we're in really interesting times and there's a lot going on. And I think we're all kind of navigating it together.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. And that's why I always say it's about, in my work anyhow, I always say, thank you for inviting me to walk alongside you because we're in this together and it's not me doing the work. I'm just here holding space and as you, so it's helping others help themselves, right? I've always hesitated to even use the word healer when we're just talking on the subject of the work that I do with people, because I myself, I don't refer to myself as a healer. I'm a conduit, I hold space, and we are the ones that are healing ourselves. And I think a lot of people have lost sight of that and are too quick to reach outside of themselves for a lot of different ailments in life, for a lot of different things that manifest within their everyday world or reality, for lack of better words.
I love what you said about that, because that is very much the experience that I've had. I've worked with a few intuitive people, coaches, over the years. And a lot of times it is seeking outside oneself for
Mm-hmm.
help, for guidance. And you always kind of bring it back to, what is your intuition telling you? Right? I don't always love that answer, because I'm just like, I don't want to do the work. I want you or the guides or whoever to tell me. But that is very much the experience, which I think is important, right? Because we are here to go through a human process and to figure some of those things out for ourselves and learn to be more in tune with our intuition.
Yeah, I know, and I absolutely agree. And it's again about belief system, right? And I look at life from the belief that we're here on a soul journey, having a human experience, and that purpose of the soul's journey is to evolve. And how does one evolve? Is through experience, right? So, and coming back and recognizing the significance of self and the ability, the capabilities that we have. It is just a matter of, like you said, to do the work. And for the most part, people are looking for the fast and the most direct route to achieve their desired end result, right? And if that means handing, that workload over to someone outside of themselves, more often than not, and myself included, over the years, is to, okay, well, help me. How can I, what can you do to help me? As opposed to asking the question, what can I do to help myself?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so excited for this interview, because even though we've been working together for a few months now, it's always about me. And I have so many questions for you. So I want to
I'll
know
do
all
my best.
about, yeah, I want to know all about your background. I mean, I know a little bit, but I'd love for you to elaborate on that, and, how you kind of started using your gifts to help people.
I can share, well, Akashic Records, because I do Akashic record reading and also light language. So Akashic record and light language practitioner. I'm not one that likes labels. However, if somebody's seeking a service, so for that specific purpose, I was guided to use that label. And that's those that I'm meant to cross paths with will be drawn in through those words. And started using the Akashic Records. I reached out to a woman who I was led to during the most traumatic and trying times of my life. I just uprooted, I have 3 children. I just uprooted my children and moved from Ontario out to Calgary, Alberta. And I was in school, Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, going through to be a holistic nutritionist. And the relationship, that is a story in itself, but it wasn't a solid relationship. And I intuitively knew that within the year, the relationship would come to an end prior to even going. But there was just a strong sense that I couldn't deny that my family and I needed to be out west. And within 9 months of moving out there, the relationship came to an end. And everyone was in a completely deep state of depression. Including myself. There was 3 of my children, and he had 1 son that also lived with us. So we were all struggling with our own level of depression, just based on the relationship dynamic, the whole family dynamic. And after leaving that relationship, my children got into the drugs and alcohol lifestyle. So addiction and mental health can go hand in hand. And I didn't have a job at the time I was in school. So things just kind of quickly did a downward spiral for me. And I just put it out there. Okay. I felt very strongly that this is where I was being called, show me the purpose of bringing my family and I out, away from everything that we've ever known, to come across here and have all of this transpire. And I was led to a woman. And just to give you a little bit of insight, Krista, I spent most of my life very in tune. So I would say I was one of those souls that incarnated quite conscious. And I was aware of things that others weren't feeling or sensing. And so ever since a child, it's something I've had to navigate through. So when I say that I've been out there just talking to God, universe, energies, whatever your belief system is, I was always seeking an answer. So from a child to that point in time, I kind of established a relationship with invisible energies, for lack of better words. God was a word that never really resonated with me, only because of how repelled I was by religion. It's just the perspective and the persona that they've given God in the religious context of things didn't resonate with me. Within 24 hours after asking, this woman who I had recently met through a yoga retreat posted a post on Facebook about this session she had with this woman. And I just intuitively knew, I'm like, that's her. And I reached out to her and I was just kind of giving her insight into what was going on in my world. And yeah, we find out like prior to coming, again, it's all just a matter, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but coming that we intended to cross paths at that particular juncture, and we had work to do together. So that was my first introduction to the Akashic Records, and I got guidance through, she was reading my records, and then just how to navigate through the terrains of what I was currently going through at the time with my children and myself out west.
Okay.
My first
Amazing.
introduction. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what did that look like? Like getting it? Well, first of all, some people are probably wondering what the Akashic Records are. Maybe you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. So the Akashic Records, again, just I'm going to speak from my personal perspective on things. Everything is energy. And there's different wave bands of energy. And one way that I explain it when I'm working with my clients is like the same way as that you're tuning a dial on your radio station and it's picking up a specific radio wave band in order to tune into whatever music is playing on that particular station. Well, the Akashic Records are on their own wave band. It's a dimension, a realm of its own, and you tune in by your own energetic frequency. So when I first started, there's a pathway prayer process by Linda House, my mentor. That's how I was introduced, like on a level to work with it. The Akashic Records was through Linda Howe's work. I no longer use that, but to give you an example, it was a prayer. So it was words raised your frequency to allow you access into specific records within the Akash. So now I've just come to learn over the years, like it's just we all have an energetic signature, and each energetic signature everyone has the ability, and more often than not, you're accessing it and not even consciously having a conscious awareness of yourself doing it. I learned that I was accessing it and wasn't even aware for years, so that's one thing that biggest thing is to make people aware that it's available to every single one of us. Like, I'm no different than you, Krista, or anyone else out there. It's just the intent that I have and the purpose behind using them. And that's a part of my soul's purpose for being here, is to utilizing the records. So it's just an energetic frequency on, wave band. And I put the intent out, and because of my energetic signature, it allows access to specific information, and it is also dependent on the individual being read as well. So there's it's between the two energies, and information comes through. The information I receive, and everybody receives it differently. I get it in images. I hear words or sounds. I get feelings within my body, and I just share it together with whoever's records are being read. We kind of put what information is coming through that's relevant to their personal inquiry at that time. So I guess that's a long answer, but
No, that's good.
It's just a realm of energy on a bandwave of its own, and tap into that.
Okay. I've heard it explained, kind of
Mhm.
like a library, right? Like,
Yes, that's the most common, and it's just to help humans in just put a visual perspective to it. It's also known as the Book of Life, right? And a lot of people have this belief that you're going into this big library. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see it as such when I'm accessing it. It literally is just information that's coming through, and it's consciousness. Everything is consciousness, but it is stored. So every thought, emotion, action, behavior, intention, again, if you look at it from the perspective that everything is energy and we create an imprint. So everything is stored, and that's where the word library, just like a book, it's stored information and you can access it. So I've never gotten a visual, so it's never come through to me that way, but I'm very familiar with a lot of people reference it to a library.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's information, I mean, I've heard, accessing information from past lives and all of these things that kind of exist in this realm, and that's what you're able to pull from.
Yes. So
Okay.
past, present, and future. And I've seen in the readings throughout the course of the last 2 years, I think it's been 2.5 years. So that I've started to read the records for others. I've used the records personally for 13 years. It's been, yeah, 12, 13 years. And it wasn't until approximately 2 years ago that I was guided to start using them to read for others. So it
Okay.
just integrated it into the work that I was already doing,
Cool.
to use it as a tool. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, past, present, and future. And again, from the perspective, I've learned everything is happening simultaneously. So, again, it just being energy, putting the intent out there, and any information that is relevant to help the individual who's having their records read move through whatever they're currently confronted with, whether they're perceiving it as a challenge or they just want some insight and guidance because they have some level of internal conflict, stewing around, what choice is the better choice for them to make. That's the whole purpose behind my use for them, is to help people kind of navigate their way through something that they feel they'd like some insight and guidance in.
Very cool. You also mentioned light language.
I did.
Yeah. So why don't you explain a little bit what that is?
I will do my best so I can explain it in a way that I understand it. And this may be a little out there, but I'm just trusting that whoever is listening, this is exactly of resonance with them. It's an integration of multiple different aspects of self. So I spontaneously started speaking it March 27th of 2020. And yeah, we haven't touched on this before, just to give people a little bit of content to me spontaneously speaking it. Walk-ins. Are you familiar with walk-ins, or have you ever heard of walk-ins?
I have. So it is okay. I'm not totally sure, but from what I've read, it's
Mhm.
is it like when your soul leaves your body like halfway through a lifetime and then a new one walks in or something?
Yeah, that's one way of a walk-in. Yes, so there's multiple different ways that another soul can incarnate into the vessel, the incarnate vessel. So I had come to learn because I had a moment on March 23rd and March 27th. I started speaking the light language, and when I woke up on the 23rd, I did not feel myself. I don't really even know what words to use to describe how I felt, but I knew I was no longer me. As crazy and out there as that sounds, I just did not
Interesting.
feel like me. And I used to be heavy into weight training. I was training to compete in a bodybuilding competition at the time. That was a big part of my life. I used the gym and weight training. That was my antidepressant to help me get through a lot of what I had traveled through over the last of those 13 to 15 years. And I spent a significant amount of my life in the gym, and all of a sudden I wanted nothing to do with it. Again, spontaneously, I just was, no, I'm not sure where this is coming from. And I used to wear ball caps all the time. You would more often than not see me with a ball cap on than to see me, without. And I just couldn't put a hat on my head. I even attempted to put one on, and I'm like, this is not me. This doesn't even feel right. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And my clothes changed. I had long red hair. I wanted it chopped. I chopped it off to here. I put blonde highlights in it. And I
Wow.
just, and I, me being me, was just led to, I'm like, okay, what is going on here? And I was led to one of Brian Scott's podcasts on walk-ins. And and then more and more information started to come through. And then I reached out to some of my friends who are of like mind to get some insight from them as well. And we all concluded I had a walk-in. And my natal soul did not leave. So the natal soul is still here. And actually, it's what they call a braiding of souls. So I've had multiple different aspects of self come in, and hence the fluctuation and all these different things that were coming through, and why I didn't feel like me. This happens over the last couple of years. I've come to the understanding that this happens more often than it's spoken about, and it is easily labeled as a multiple personality disorder or, schizophrenia. People just not understanding what is really going on. And I was just fortunate that I had the life experience, the journey that I had that led me up to that point in time, and was surrounded by people that were able to help me better understand what exactly was going on. So the light language, I started speaking, and I had gone through probably about 7 or 8 different languages were all coming through. And the course of the last 4 to 5 months, it's been the one, and it's been consistent with every now and then it will just change. I can see it different, and the difference in the articulation of things. So it does, but it's, for the most part, it's remained the same. Where before I spoke just 6 or 7, 8 different languages in a short period of time, and I'd go from one to the next, and then it's kind of come into so, and that's, you get to hear that during our sessions. So that's the most consistent one. And I'm not always able to interpret exactly what's coming through, but for the most part, I do, but my body does. I can really feel it on the cellular level. A little bit of insight, but yeah.
That's so cool. I did not know that. I am so glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah. So.
And for anybody listening right now who are just like, what is happening? Like, this is, wow, incredible. I mean, I wouldn't say it's common, but you're not the only person. So I was saying before we jumped on here that there's a couple of podcasts that I listen to with intuitives, and they speak like language as well.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds sort of similar. Again, one woman, she must be speaking a different dialect, but like hers is a little bit more sing-songy. And it's like a little bit, I don't know, softer, more gentle, but it depends. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it comes through like a little bit more forceful.
Interesting.
But it's so beautiful. And I've heard of it explained as like the language of the soul.
Yes. And then some people will say, well, what does that mean? And so from my experience, there's an integration and another way perspective, looking at it as everything is energy. When you expand in consciousness, you start to tap into different imprints that are in your specific energy body, your energy field. And that, it's been described also as that as your expand in consciousness, you start to remember and just pull through that what's already in your energy field. And one, like the 6, 7 different languages, another perspective or theory is that you've been on multiple different, it could be different planets, it could be from different lives, and then all of a sudden you just start speaking because you've expanded your state of consciousness, which is now giving you an ability to tap into different things that are imprinted in your energy field. Does
Very
that
cool.
make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, mostly because I've just, I've done a lot of reading on these types of subjects in the past and the work that we've done together. I know it's a complicated subject and it's really difficult, I think, for the human mind to even comprehend because we're working on like such a different dimension, right? Like it can be very mind-blowing and hard to understand, but there's so much information out there
There
when
is.
you're actually interested and want to look for it.
And that's exactly it. It's, if you want to seek something out, the information is there. It's just a matter of what you're seeking. Right?
Hmm.
So if you
Yeah.
are drawn to something, there's so much information on there in relation to light language, and there's multiple different perspectives. And I've just who I am as a person is I've never immersed myself in anyone's teachings. I have an experience and I get led to a resource or source that is able to help me make sense of whatever it is that I've experienced. And I always just take what resonates. And I always encourage everybody that I work with, my children, family, just take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I don't necessarily know, there's no right or wrong. Different things work for different people. We're all different. It's just a matter of finding what works for you. But I've always been that way my whole life. I've never immersed myself in anyone teaching. I've just get led here, get led there, pick and pull for multiple different things. And that's the same when it comes to the light language or the Akashic Records. I'm finding there's a commonality. There's that theme that runs through all of them. And then everybody puts their own little spin on things. And you just got to get a feel for what works, what feels right for you.
Yeah.
And I just learned, for me, this is interesting. It's Anna. So I just was picking up like Anna, and Anna was coming through, and this was probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago. And it is the name that they've given themselves, which is a collective of multidimensional, multi-universal aspects of self. So when I'm actually in conversation with having that dialect, that conversation, the light language dialect, it's Anna who I'm speaking to. So it makes it that much more personable. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that. Something that kind of stood out to me, sort of interesting that you had this walk-in experience,
Mm-hmm.
in like spring of 2020 when all of this crazy stuff starts happening. Do you feel like, have you been able to kind of decipher why this, happened and what the purpose is? And if that's, part of a lot of people needing healing at this time of the planet or this time on the planet. What's your take on that?
Hi, I'm Maddie. Let me tell you a quick story of how I'm supporting my PCOS with Wild Remedies Spiced Chocolate Magic Latte. First of all, I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, so I'm investing in finding long-term, sustainable approaches to wellness. Living with PCOS, when things are feeling a little out of balance, it's common for me to wake up groggy, have blood sugar crashes throughout the day, or become totally overwhelmed by daily stressors. My morning coffee was causing blood sugar spikes, anxiety, and tummy trouble, so I swapped it for Wild Remedies Spiced Chocolate Magic Latte about a year ago, and believe me when I tell you that the change has been insane. Each sachet has 3 servings of wild Siberian chaga, a powerful antioxidant-rich adaptogenic mushroom that helps to fight inflammation and fatigue and regulate the immune system. It tastes like a creamy hot chocolate with just a hint of spice, and it keeps my stomach calm. Since swapping, I feel more clarity and calm throughout the day, and my morning magic latte helps to set clear intentions for the rest of my day. I save 15% on my monthly subscription at wildremedieshop.com, and at $2.50 per serving, it's saving me a ton on Starbucks runs and supplement orders. Check out the links and promos in the show notes to get your own. Your adrenals will thank you.
I feel that is the soul intended purpose. My soul is here to help the evolution of humanity at this time, and to hold space to the light language. It's been shared, but it's learning through the work with people like yourself and others is that it is repatterning, rescripting the Akashic Records. So what the heck does rescripting the Akashic Records or repatterning mean? If you look at it again, I always take everything back to energy, but if they're from the energy perspective, the imprints we are playing out in the physical what is imprinted in our energy fields, and most of us don't have a conscious awareness of that. And what you have an awareness of, the light language at this time is helping people to move things through their patterns where they're getting stuck in the physical. It's also been shown like hooks. We catch on, we hook into things. So it's just kind of like loosening that hook through sound. It's energy, and it's just changing the pattern of that energetic signature within that individual, and is enabling them to move through something quicker. And at the same time, they're also having an awareness of, so they're able to see. There's so many variables involved in Truth Crystal. Like there's different energies streaming in at this time, and more people, this is the time of a paradigm shift. More and more people are starting to come online, where they're starting to become aware of things that they once weren't aware of. Like consciousness is really expanding in the collective as a whole at this time, which to me is a beautiful thing. But that has a lot to do with the energies coming in. So to go back and answer your question, I feel that, it's been shared, the whole integrating, and most of my clients I've been helping them with the whole integration themselves. So they have multiple different aspects integrating too. So that is a part of it. It's pulling in different abilities that have been in our energy field. And again, people will say from past lives, if you come from a different star planet, you're here anchoring in light. I mean, there's many different theories, and I've played with a few different ones. And over the past year, I've really learned to just let go. I've been guided just to stay present, because we can lose ourselves. I know I can lose myself in trying to make sense of things. And I've just learned over the life has shown me that things will start to make sense as I continue to move, like take action, live life, immerse yourself out there and have the experiences, and things start to become that much more clear for me. So yeah, what I've taken up to this point is just to really help with the evolution of humanity at this time. And I feel, do I even dare say this? I don't even know if I even dare say this, but
Do it.
What
Say
we're transitioning into, like the times that we're transitioning into, right? So there are a lot of us right now and it's not that anyone is better than anyone else. It's just each soul is in their own stage of evolution, and there are souls that have came into existence before others, so they're just in a different place in their evolutionary journey, and as a result have the capacity to hold space for others. So it's just like once you've gone through something in life and you've now learned from that experience, you can turn around and extend your hand out and help somebody else up. So does that help? So I feel like on a soul level, this is the purpose of the light language and the work that I'm doing at this time. Is just to help people remember, and also to stand in their sovereignty. It's about taking back our personal power. And that has been a big part of my own journey prior to being introduced to the Akashic Records of the light language. It's about recognizing our own ability to heal ourselves on any capacity.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what you say resonates so much, because I see it just with like my own community and my girlfriends, and especially within like the past month or so. Like, I'll be in a group chat with some girlfriends, and I'll leave a voice note, and then one will message back and be like, "Oh my God, like I knew what you were going to say before you even said it." Right? There's almost like, more psychic abilities and things that are starting to happen. And I mean, maybe it's just with my group of friends too, because we talk about spiritual stuff all the time.
Right.
And, I think what has transpired in the past 2 years, although it's been extremely difficult, it was really necessary for us to evolve in a lot of different ways. One of them being just to understand that, some of these infrastructures that we have created in this lifetime, or sorry, on the planet right now, they need to be dismantled, or there's a dismantling that's happening, and so there's a showing of, okay,
Mhm.
this is how this paradigm actually works, right? And so a lot of people are waking up and going like, okay, maybe I didn't really sign up for this. Maybe we need to be making some big changes here. And then I think a lot of people are waking up spiritually right now too, and being like, oh my God, like this is a lot, right? So there's more people, I think, than ever that are really soul searching right now for a lot
Mhm.
of answers. And again, I don't know if it's just because I kind of work in the space of like wellness and spirituality, but it just seems like it's exploding right now. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many people coming in, or like awakening, or just understanding, even in an early point of their journey, that, oh, okay, like I'm here to help, right? Like a lot of people need to wake up, or are waking up, and they're seeking help, and they want to learn how to heal themselves in different ways that maybe the Western medical system is not suited for. And yeah, it's becoming very common, and I love that. It's
Me
beautiful to see.
too. Me
Mhm.
too. Yeah, very well said. Yeah, I agree. And I one thing that stood out as you're speaking is also reminding that the help starts with first helping self, right? So
Yes.
many people are, I know even for myself, get caught up in that, here, I'm here to be in service, I'm here to serve. And such the nurture. And I find a lot of those that are here to be in service are such the nurturing caregiver type, and always just wanting to give and take care of others. And it's recognizing, and again, my life journey taught me that firsthand, the importance of nurturing and caring for self, so one has the capability to show up and hold that space to help others, because we can very quickly become depleted, right? And then all these different emotions and feelings start to be cultivated within ourselves as a result. So I always bring back to self. It's very important, and because as we're learning and going through the healing process, we're more often than not sharing with others just naturally. It's just a natural like effect to share what you're going through, and we're healing others. And also want to remind everyone that as we heal, we're healing the collective. We are one and the same. We all come from the original same source. And again, I'm speaking from my own personal belief system. So from that perspective, as I'm healing, that's what I've learned throughout the course of my journey and heal is in the collective consciousness, and is there for all of us to tap into as you're healing, Krista, on your own journey and focusing on nurturing and caring for your body. You're imprinting that energy into that collective consciousness field, and we all have that ability to tap into that. Right? So the importance of recognizing, yes, you very well are aware that you're here to serve, but I want to remind everyone listening that if you're out there trying to care for and nurture people and not putting that same level of nurture and care towards self, to first direct that focus back onto self and just trust that you too are healing others as you're healing self.
I love that. I love that. And I would just like to say you're welcome to everyone out there, because my healing journey has been very long and hard and arduous, and it is still happening. So I like to think that I am contributing a great deal.
Thank you, Krista.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love that. That's, yeah, so
It's a
beautiful.
lifelong journey. And just
Yeah.
as we heal, we work through one thing, we're presented with something else. And
Mhm.
you just have to trust that if it's in front of you, you have the capacity to work through it. And the feeling of it as we're going through the process of something is a direct result of the meaning that we're giving whatever it is that we're experiencing. So I have always, from the coaching perspective, is check in and words carry weight. You and I have spoken this, and energetically, our body is always in a constant state of communication with us. So if reframe your internal dialogue and your external dialogue, if it feels heavy and constrictive to you, to something expansive, it's a matter of continually checking in with self. But if you shift the meaning that you're giving to whatever it is that you're experiencing, because again, I've come to learn that my greatest gifts have been my most challenging times in life. Those were where the true gems were. That's a lot of healing took place in those experiences. And when I first started this journey, questioning why, like why me, or why am I going through this, or what did I do, or that creates a victim mentality. We weigh heavy, can create a state of depression. Just that whole downward spiral of things. And thankfully, I'm not sure, I can't pinpoint it to any one thing in particular, but I was sitting there one day and I just, Heather, how is this really working out for you? I mean, it's not. So something needs to change. And, shifting the perspective that I was looking at my experiences, and the Akashic Records really helped give me insight into that. Looking at things from a higher perspective gave what I was going through meaning. And it was the meaning that I was giving. It was the personal meaning that I was giving. It didn't matter how anybody else was perceiving it, or what they were projecting onto the experience that I was going through. It was the meaning that I was given to my experiences. And that really helped give me that fuel to be able to get through, to be able to endure what I was being confronted with at life at that time. Does that make sense, Krista?
Yep, it sure does. I love it. Okay, so I want to ask you, you mentioned earlier about like star planets and different beings, which some people are probably like, what are you talking about? But yeah, let's talk about like star seeds and aliens. Let's just like get right into that.
Okay.
Yeah, like this has actually been a fairly significant part of, the work that we've done together. And, in the beginning I was like, ooh, okay, this is different, but it wasn't strange to me because I think I've been studying, this kind of stuff for a long time. And I remember reading a book by Dolores Cannon years ago, and I just downloaded it and listened to it again recently, but it was called The Three Waves of Volunteers.
Okay.
And you're not familiar with Dolores's work, are you? We talked about this.
Well, I've heard of her for years, and again,
Yeah.
I just haven't been immersed into her work. But people that I've gone and listened to a podcast or just have a YouTube video reference to her work quite often. So
I hear her come up a lot now these days, which is really cool. But essentially, she was a hypnotherapist, had worked as a hypnotherapist with her husband for many, many years, like decades. And at one point, she was hypnotizing people, and it was for, different healing purposes and things. But she created a specific technique, and she discovered that people started recounting past lives. And so she started documenting them. And people were having miraculous healings and all of these things. But it wasn't just past lives, it was lives on other planets as different beings, all of these things. And I was like, wow, like I knew it. I don't know, just something in me my whole life. I just always thought like, there's got to be more than just us, like it's pretty arrogant to think that we're the only things that exist out there. And now it's funny, as we're in like this very interesting time in history, we've now got NASA and, like newsrooms and stuff reporting on, like actual UFO activity and stuff. Before it was all like conspiracy, but now they're like, okay, yeah, this, we've actually known about this for a really long time and it's real. So maybe there's like a little bit of preparation happening. I don't know if we're going to start, seeing these things and trends and patterns more. But yeah, so when we started, when this started kind of coming through, because I think at first, the first guides that were coming through when we were working together were guides from Orion.
Yes.
And then we had the Arcturians, and I'm like, just completely fascinated. And then a thing that just really hit me was, it was one of our first sessions, but you had guided me to start working with a stone called moldavite. And I knew nothing about it. I always had crystals and stuff, and I was just like, oh, they're pretty. And I know some people are like really into them, but I was just like, like, I don't know. That's a little bit too out there for me. I don't really think there's anything to it. And I went and did a little bit of research and found a website, or maybe you sent me the website. I can't remember. But I go on this website, and the first image was like this beautiful green stone that looks extremely alien.
It does. Yeah.
But I just had the weirdest feeling come over me. Like, I've never had anything happen like this before, but I was just like filled with like such emotion. I started crying and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? I'm like, Heather, what is happening? What is happening to me? And it was just like it was just like the strangest feeling. And like I was on that website for hours, just like scrolling, looking at all.
I remember you sharing that. Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, you're like remembering some shit from past lives because you're not from here. And I'm like, what? I'm not from here? But like deep down, I kind of knew that. So maybe you can explain a little bit on like starseeds and all of these interesting concepts.
So you, by the way, listening to you probably know more than I do. But again, it's interesting. I was impulse to have this out. So this is the little symbol. It's a light language code, and it is what I started to use to access the Akashic Records with. And I found that this specific code, it helps align with different galactic beings that. So for instance, those that came through in your reading, there's been an agreement. You're working together as a team here at this time. You're here in an incarnate vessel in a human form, but your original core star comes from a different planet, for lack of better words, right? So there's multiple different planets out there in the universe. And I've just had the experience with it, and it's just really opened up. It's like a gateway, and has allowed for the person who's having their records read to have that experience. So this is when the galactics really started to come through for me in my readings. Prior to that, not so much so. Not that I was really connecting anyhow. So it wasn't until I had a session with, again, I'm just going to say my higher self led me to a woman. Have you heard of Yvonne Perry?
No.
So she's got several different books out there, and like celestial shamanism, light language. And I was drawn to her work to get a better understanding of what it is that I'm doing. Again, I just have these experiences and left to interpret what information is coming through. And I really feel it would be understanding, people would have an understanding for me to say, you sit there, I'm going fucking crazy. Like, what the hell is going on here? Is this real? Am I, losing my shit? So I always check in with other people around me just to get some insight. And I was led to her. And so after my first session with her, I started in the same way I spontaneously started speaking light language, I started drawing all these light language codes. What I was receiving, they were galactic codes and more the light language symbols, but that's when I started to really open up the gateway of communication with those from different star seeds, and they just come through. And it's interesting because during my very first reading, I think it was my very first reading that I had with my Akashic reader, my mentor, and it's where I found out that I'm Korean. So I'm Drago. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it helped me make sense. And so for yourself, and I'm finding those that as soon as I start to share such information, and again, I've just learned to trust that's what's coming through. And if it resonates with somebody, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not my place, right? I've chosen just to be a conduit, and I'm so open to it because it's the information that I've received over the years has really helped me make sense of my own life experience. Mm-hmm. So as you've been talking, like you've shared that you were drawn, like you were looking on the website and you had an emotional release. So that's very common. It's just an innate knowing. It's a remembrance of, and it helps us, tools such as that help us bypass the analytical mind and allow us to really connect with ourselves on a cellular level. It's like our cells are in a constant state of communication, and allow ourselves to feel that experience. So I do believe in extraterrestrials. I've had a lot of paranormal stuff happened throughout the course of my life. For as far back as I can remember. So this isn't out of the ordinary for me. I've seen ships. I've seen beings. I've had just a lot of different things happen in my life. I just feel it made sense when I was first introduced to like different star planets and names, because I had no idea, like different the Pleiadians, the Sirians, the Arcturians, like what?
Yeah. And you go online, you're like, oh my God, there's like so much stuff on this. What the hell?
Yeah, right. So, and I do, and I'm one that I just question information that is given to us. Again, that's just me. It's who I am. Going back to NASA and them sharing that they've had contact, or there's been sightings of UFOs. I think that's something. Right now, the information that I'm coming, it is something that's necessary to kind of ease our way into. Can't find the right words here, but it's too much of a shock for the majority of humanity at this time. Like, it could potentially do more harm than good. So it is something that have to take a more subtle approach. And I do feel, we're constantly changing timelines. That's a completely other topic in itself. But with past, present, and future happening simultaneously, every choice that we choose to make puts us on a different pathway. Like, we're heading in a different direction. But as humanity starts to make choices as a collective, you can really change the outcome of a particular timeline. You can switch to a different timeline. And again, I'm just sharing from my own personal understanding. I haven't really fully immersed myself into studying this. So just information that I receive. And again, when I'm in the Akashic Records, so it's the whole quantum Akashic connections for myself, because it is multidimensional. It is multi-universal. I've learned as I'm going. It's not something that I've studied. I have allowed myself to be open to be a conduit. Just, it's everything that happened in my life that led up to that point that has allowed for me to have that capacity within myself to be able to be that clear conduit and not short circuit, for lack of better words, and also have a better understanding of life that allows for me to keep some level of mental stability or sanity. That's debatable depending on who you ask, but I think I do a pretty good job of keeping myself grounded for the most part. But there's a lot, Krista. There's just so much right now. But more and more people are awakening, and Starseeds, it is something that really resonates very strongly with me, that there are beings that are not human. They're just in a human body, and they're here to help the evolution of humanity at this time. And that looks different. Everyone's here fulfilling a different role. And you look at energy grids, like I've recently learned over the last year, like people are being drawn, having a better understanding. Okay, I was led here because I'm anchoring light into the grid because of what's going on in the world. This is where certain starseeds or light workers or different beings, whatever, name resonates with you most, but it really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And just as you start to expand and broaden your state of consciousness, things just start to make more sense. Like, everyday things that I've thought I had an understanding of just start to becoming that much more clearer to me. And I really do believe this is a never-ending journey. And this vessel is just temporary, and energy is infinite. And as we learn through here, we're expanding that collective state of consciousness, not only here in humanity, but universal, right? So again, just my own personal belief.
Yeah. Well, and and anchoring the light can look like, the conversation that we're having right now that other people are going to listen to, and it, will probably resonate with some folks, and, on it goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're getting close to time, but I still have stuff that we need to chat about. Specifically, health, I want to share actually a couple of stories about how you've helped me, which I think is really cool. So people can kind of get a context.
Well, I helped you help yourself.
Yes, but I mean, there was there was a lot of help, you know. Okay, so one story that was really cool. I can't remember. Okay, so we have been working on issues around my throat chakra for a while. Working with Heather really helped me gain perspective on some of the reasons for some of my ongoing health challenges. Okay. And so she's been able to pinpoint or discuss with guides that health challenges are stemming from this throat chakra, which, is affecting my thyroid. And this made a lot of sense to me. And I've shared this story before, but as I was a child growing up, I had constant throat infections, like 10 plus times a year. I would have severe tonsillitis or strep throat on all these antibiotics, et cetera, et cetera. And it was really interesting because Heather gave me an exercise to do this one time. So, we'll have a session together, and then sometimes she will send me a whole bunch of like homework that I need to do. And a lot of times it's like journaling exercises, or, in one case, well, actually, I was going to talk about that story first, but that's okay. I'll mention this one after. So for this one in particular, I needed to write a letter. Do you remember this one where I was writing a couple of letters, just to kind of address some inner child stuff, some childhood trauma, to get out some anger and frustrations. And I was just inspired to do it one evening. I knew I had it on my list, and I was feeling kind of emotional at the time. And I was like, okay, well, this is probably a good time to do it. So I'm writing these letters and, was feeling kind of emotional about it, but like nothing too crazy. Went to bed. The next day, woke up, was feeling great. Went upstairs, did like my workout, I was doing my red light. So my thing is doing red light and breath work, which you also help guide me to, which is the other story I'm going to tell. So I'm doing the breath work, and about halfway through, I start getting like these shooting pains, like crazy, crazy joint pain. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And within a matter of minutes, I was deathly ill. Like it just hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, I went from working out, and 30 minutes later, laying outside on my couch. I have like an outdoor thing, and I was freezing. Like I had a full blown fever. I was shivering. I was so cold, and I'm laying outside sobbing because I'm so sick. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like, okay, well, I got something, like, I don't know what, but I am really ill right now. So I go and run myself a bath, and I'm trying to get into the bathtub, and I'm in so much pain. I'm a total mess, and I'm trying to get into the bathtub, and the water's too hot. So I'm trying to get in, and I burn my foot, and I get just so angry. So I'm like hanging over the side of the bathtub, trying to get in. I've just put my foot in, I've burnt it, and now I'm just having a complete meltdown. So I just started sobbing. I think I was like yelling, and then I was sobbing, and I get into the tub, and I'm just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And then about 10 minutes later, all the pain was gone. And I'm sitting in that tub being like, what the fuck just happened to me? All the pain was gone. And like for the rest of the day, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to take it easy. Like some emotional release clearly just happened. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. But I'm just going to like, okay, we're not going to work today. We're just going to like chill. And I was feeling okay during the day. But around the evening, I started feeling a little like, okay, something's coming on. Like I am getting sick now. But it wasn't anything like what had happened that previous morning. And again, like I was fine all day. So we had a discussion about it, and it was kind of like, okay, illness sometimes is like, kind of rewiring things, right? Like you need to rest. It definitely put me on my ass for about a week. But yeah, it wasn't anything like that initial experience. And so there was definitely healing that happened there. It wasn't very comfortable, but like, holy,
Mm.
I never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah, that was deep. That was deep. Yeah, you
Yeah.
really opened yourself up to that experience, and yeah, all that stored energy in your cells and your within your energy field. Just,
I guess,
yeah,
but
we
it
want
was so wild because I mean, like, I've journaled before and I've done all these things before, and it's really interesting when you're given something very specific to do
Mhm, mhm,
by your higher self or your guides or whatever who are working with you, because they were
mhm.
probably there being like, okay, cool, like let's get in there and like, you know, start
Yeah.
tuning her up, right? It didn't feel very good, but like
Mhm.
there was definitely something extra happening that has never done with any of, the healing
Yeah.
work that I've done before.
Mhm. Mm.
So that was really intense and powerful. And then I wanted to mention about the breath work. This was a really cool experience too. So I think we were discussing my morning routines,
Mhm.
and I kind of have a hard time with consistency only because I overwhelm myself with things, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, so I should be doing, you know, 15 minutes of hit and then some yoga, and then there's breath work, sitting in front of the red light, maybe I should be pulling cards, but I could also go for a walk, or I could go for a hike, or I'd go for a bike ride, like, and I just I sometimes just overwhelm myself, and I'm like, fuck, now I'm gonna do nothing because I've just wasted time sitting here thinking about the thing that I should be doing.
Yep. Not
And
not uncommon, Krista.
yeah. And it was so nice, to have the guidance to be like, okay, you really need to be doing breath work. And I was like, okay, cool. I like doing breath work. And this experience was really interesting because you were asking me, you're like, okay, well, is there like a type of breath work that you like doing or whatever? And I'm thinking, and I'm like, well, okay, all of the most powerful experiences that I've had with breath work in the past were group exercises. And so I don't really know how that's going to work. And in my mind, I hadn't said this yet, but in my mind, I'm thinking about this one program. So I use the Insight Timer app sometimes. And a friend of mine owns a company called Soma,
Yeah.
and they do like these nice 20-minute breathwork exercises. And I had done them like maybe once or twice. And that was in my mind, but I hadn't said it yet. And then Heather's just like, they're saying Soma. And I was like, what? What? Are you serious right now? And I was like, okay, all right. I got the message. And so I do Soma breathwork on Insight Timer in the mornings in front of my red light now. It makes me feel great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So very personalized. It definitely has helped me, like working with you. Like I've had amazing guidance around my health. It's definitely helped me get off of, those medications, the last couple that I was on. And just for like decision making, assurances in business, that's a big one that we talk about
Mm.
a lot,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then this energetic healing, it's a completely different level, and something that I hadn't really experienced prior in such a profound way. And so, yeah, thank you for that. It's been very helpful.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for other people that might be, interested in your services, did you mention that you do couples counseling too?
Well, I have a
Yeah.
couple. I have done a couple different couple sessions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So whatever comes to me.
Yeah.
So it's the work that I do in the records and the light language is around relationships, but that comes back to first and foremost the relationship that we have with ourselves, because we are the foundation of every aspect of our life, right? So whatever that quality of relationship is going to be reflected back to us. So, and that just seems to be everyone comes to me for relationship advice. And that's where I was already doing the internal work, helping others kind of chisel the facade through a coaching program that I have, and then integrated the records into that. So it's the bulk of my work is around helping people shift the quality of their current relationship. And that's through the relationship with self, and others have asked if their partner could join. Absolutely. I'm completely open to that. So partners came in. Yeah, that was
Cool.
a fun experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you work with kids and
I have.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So pretty much anybody who's just looking to have some questions answered or maybe have some healing in their life or that are going through a tumultuous time. Is there anything else or like any other categories that you kind of like to work in?
Well, I was a holistic nutritionist, so I integrate
Great.
the nutrition aspect of it. So, nutrition guidance is always offered, different supplementation. It all depends on what comes through in each reading. I really have learned over especially the past 2 years, is that it's a very integrative approach, like multifaceted, multidimensional. So, working with yourself, for example, Krista, or those that are sitting across from me, it's working internally. The Akashic Records help give insight into what is in their highest good in that moment to work through. But I guide in nutrition, guide in supplementation, helping the energy field through the light language. And the Akashic word gives you a higher perspective on things. So it helps you shift the frame in which you're looking at your situation from. And you can clearly, for the most part, people start to have a level of clarity. It's fairly quick. Clarity and just able to see things, which helps them move through something. So it just they get unstuck, for lack of
Yeah.
better words. So working on an energetic level and also working on a physical level. And if you look at it, it's a gradient, right? So I feel blessed. I'm just really thankful. I thank myself every day for showing up and making that choice to put in that work. And, whatever, this is a perfect example that, when you learn to trust, you surrender, and just be present to the moment with the anchoring in faith, like, whatever is in front of you, you're going to get through this. And for me, it was at the end of this, there's going to be purpose. I'm going to be able to share what I've learned one day. And it has now positioned me into a place where I'm taking a very multifaceted approach. And I don't like giving it any one label. Like, I'm just sitting and having a conversation with somebody, and whatever comes through, like, they're coming to me for a specific reason, and whatever comes through comes through. So whether we're being led with nutrition and supplementation first, or whether we're being led with really digging in and doing that internal work, but throughout the course of our time together, I draw from all areas, all aspects of wellness, well-being. Did that help answer that question?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so how can people connect with you if they want to learn more?
I'm in the process. My Facebook page be up. It's Beyond the Physical is my website. So beyondthephysical.ca. I also have, I don't know, do you want a phone number? Like, always by phone, text, and email, any of those methods. And social media platforms are in the process of coming online here shortly as well. So, and that's with Beyond Physical with Heather. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll link all of those in the show notes.
Email would be the best right now because my stuff's not going to be up and online. Actually, by the time we run, it will be. So that's good. But
Okay.
I can also give you an email just for anybody else. That I know some people really like the email as opposed to going on to social media platforms, each to their own. BTP with Heather at gmail.com.
Perfect.
That's the best email. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. Yay.
Well, then the last question that I have, and only if it's a line, but I was wondering if there might be any messages for the collective or anyone listening that comes through light language. No worries if not, but I just wanted to check.
Yeah. And I feel, and I was feeling that as we were talking, some things were coming through. And I really feel right now at this time that just a reminder to be mindful of spending time in the head, so the analytical thoughts, and coming down into the heart center. I really feel at this time that it's about looking at others, seeing past what they're projecting, and seeing the essence of their truth for who they are. Does that? Yeah.
I love that.
I feel Right now, yeah, it's about unity. And this is what we're all being asked to shift into at this time, is regardless of personal beliefs, it's seeing past those beliefs. So they're just giving me reference to relationships, just like in any relationship. When we're coming together and we're having a conversation and we're sitting in two opposing beliefs, as opposed to react, have that our emotions lead that conversation, as opposed to us leading our emotions at this time, is recognizing that every one of us has traveled a different journey in order to land us to where we are today. And that includes a myriad of different experiences. And those experiences are what shaped our personal beliefs. No one belief system is better than the other. And it's right now what I feel is to be open to seeing outside of your own personal belief system and showing up with a level of respect, bringing us back to that conversation when we're communicating with a partner. And it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. So just a relationship dynamic in general, communication is key. And at this time, it's looking past our own personal beliefs and respecting the other for their own belief system, and looking for the commonalities in which we share, as opposed to directing our focus in on to what we are in opposition of, like the different, and really coming together, because at the end of the day, we're in this together. And the only way that we are really going to get through this is if we choose to come together in unity and set aside our differences. And focus really does play a part in this, is we all have control over what we choose to focus in on. And that's all part of taking our personal power back. You do have the power, you do have the ability to reframe your own personal thoughts just as much as I do, and really turn within and question where they're coming from and whether they're serving in a healthy way and empowering, or whether they're disempowering and unhealthy. And that's for each and every one of us to ultimately make that choice ourselves. But unity is really coming through, and seeing each other for the truth of who we are. And it comes easier for some of us than others, but we all have that ability if we so choose.
What a perfect message. Let's remember that, everyone. Unity, respecting everybody's opinion. There's been a lot of division that's been sowed after the past couple of years, and it's time to heal. Come together.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that feeling, I'm just going to say, because it's coming through, so I'm just listening, as family, starting within that family dynamic, right? Someone says, where do I start? You make a conscious effort to direct that to a family member. So much division is taking place within that family dynamic, and healing starts first within self. But as we heal, let's reach out, start with the family, then the community. And as you're showing up and we're out and interacting with each other in our everyday activities, is having a level of respect, and like just through the eyes and the smile, the message, I see you.
I love that. Well, we will leave you all with that profound message. Thank you again, Heather, for being here, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life, and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big magic box, containing all 3 of our beautiful magic lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.